Welcome to Supply Chain Africa News. My name is Wandabo Wanyama, and today we are coming to you from the coastal city of Mombasa. Welcome, Mr. Richard. Kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Nondi.
Yes.
I don't know, apart from that, what do you want to know?
I just want to know where you were born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was born in 1950 in Siaya County.
Yes.
And that's where I went to school, primary school, secondary school, then high school in South Nyanza.
Okay. Oh, that's great. So what do you remember most about your schooling in those early days?
I think those early days, we remember the humble beginnings we went through.
Yeah.
I remember as primary school pupils, we were going to school barefooted, no shoes at that time, and walking long distances to school.
By the way, how many kilometers are you covering from your home
around
to
5
school?
kilometers
Every day?
every day, without lunch.
Hauhitaji kwenda gym.
So it was a humble beginning,
Yeah.
but it instilled a lot of discipline on us, the need to be committed, hard work and sacrifice. Ingredients which are not there these days in the current generation.
I don't know how true that statement is, but I think we shall ask our viewers to tell us. So tell us, like, the most interesting part growing up that time. What was life like?
Life was simple in the village, playing around, small kids. We liked one another, visiting one another. Hardly were there these fights and so on.
Yeah.
It was like community life where people lived together, loved one another.
You born in Siaya, then here you are in Mombasa. How was that transition like?
Okay, Mombasa that time we used to think a lot of, we were told a lot of things about Mombasa.
Don't tell me there is that part of kukuja ni raha kurudi ni matanga.
Correct, that's one of them.
Yeah.
Also that you could just disappear in the sea.
Okay.
And those kind of things.
Yeah.
But we realized later on those are not just stories.
Yeah.
And if you live here, you adapt the life of this place.
What are your memories of Mombasa town?
Mombasa?
The earliest memories that you have?
There's a lot of friendliness. People here are friendly. They welcome the visitors. And also this idea of not being in a hurry, you see, leisure-like type of life here. So it's a place where people associate with relaxing in the way.
Growing up as a child, did you ever see yourself in supply chain?
No, I didn't. My original intention was either to be a teacher, which I already became, but I went through in a different way, or to work in the civil service, to work in these academic institutions. So I never had any notion. In fact, I didn't have even the idea of supplies at that time.
So who played that bigger role of now you decide you're going to do supplies?
Okay, one time there was an advertisement in a newspaper from the government, Public Service Commission, inviting school leavers to apply for pre-service training in supplies.
Yes.
They used to call it supplies officer.
That was which year, sorry to cut you short?
1972.
Okay.
May, to be precise. Then the word officer came to my mind, that I can be an officer in the government. Let me try this.
So you just like the word officer.
Right.
Yes.
Going there, then we were told your work will be handling procurement, storage, all that. That was the first time I knew about this area.
Do you think you have any regrets before? I know we are going into much details later on. Do you think you have any regrets?
No regrets whatsoever. In fact, I can say fate made me enter a field which at that time was green and needed a lot of work for it to be developed.
Yeah.
So I'm proud to be associated with the development of this profession, looking back. Unlike traditional areas which had already been established, I feel proud to be associated with this supplies.
The pioneers,
Correct, yeah.
Right now you've stayed in Coast for almost 50 years, right?
From 1982 to this time around, I think it is around 40, nearly 40 years.
Yeah. Looking at the port of Mombasa, do you think it still carries the aspirations of the coastal citizens?
Okay, to some extent, that friendliness is still there. But what I can say is that because of the influx of people from out countries has sort of watered down the original traditional life of this area, such that it's becoming increasingly difficult to differentiate it from other cities like Nairobi.
Yeah. Earlier on, when we were talking about the schools you did attend, you never told us the exact schools, the name of those schools, your education journey life. How was it like? Kindly take us through from primary school, secondary school to the tertiary institutions that you attended.
Okay. Primary school was my home area. It's called Midiero Primary School. Then I went to secondary school called Sagongo Secondary School. Then I went to Homa Bay High School in South Nyanza. Then from there I entered the supplies field, undergoing a training at Kenya Institute of Administration, where we were taught about this area supplies. Then came to join the government as a supplies officer. Thereafter I pursued professional training in this area, Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supplies, which is
CIPS.
CIPS. Then from there, other professional qualifications like CPS of CASNEB, management, diploma in management. Then 1991, I went to pursue postgraduate diploma in purchasing and supplies in the UK, university called University of Ulster.
Yeah.
That time there was a problem of getting a university offering pure degree programs in this area.
Yeah.
So I had to go to Northern Ireland to get this university.
Yes.
And we were the pioneers again in that institution.
Yeah.
Then came back for 1 year. Then after 1 year, I went back there for masters in purchasing and supply. Again, being one of the first people in that area.
Yeah.
That's how I got my masters in purchasing and supplies. A qualification which I've used up to this moment.
What are your biggest memories when you are in Northern Ireland studying,
First of all is the climate, very cold indeed in those places, UK as a whole. Then that time there was something called Irish War, this war between Irish and the mainland,
Yes.
regarding, I don't know, they had the issues. So every time we were scared of bomb carrying,
Yes.
but otherwise those people are more friendlier than the traditional white people.
Okay. In 1962, you were in Form 2.
No, 68.
No, 1968, sorry, you're in Form 2. Looking back, I just want you to recreate the memories for us. How was it like? Are you like a village icon, or how
Those days in the 60s, if you joined the secondary school, you were a success factor in the community.
Okay.
Because education was valued highly as a success factor in society. So those people who joined secondary were considered a success factor. And we used to be proud of that. I remember during the holidays, we made sure we were walking in school uniform, so that we are distinguished. We are distinguished.
Yeah.
The ladies could say, "This is from Maseno, this one is from Yala," like that, because of the value.
Yeah.
And it is true. And I remember even 1970, after mock exams, very many companies came to the school where I was, secondary school, based on the mock results, offering us positions after the exam. We have not done the exam, but they say after the exams, come to our company.
We have a space for you.
Yeah. So the problem was choosing
either to go and work or continue schooling.
Continue with education.
Najua watu wengi hapa nyumbani wangekimbia kufanya kazi.
Correct. Also the needs. So things were like that those days, unlike now.
You know, favorite subjects, favorite sport?
English. I used to do very well in English. In fact, I got
I
distinction.
thought you would say economics.
In fact, economics maybe when I was in high school, but in secondary school, English. In fact, I got distinctions in both language and literature.
So we are going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, I want us to talk about that favorite teacher or that teacher that you hated the most that played a critical role to the man you are today. Stay tuned. And welcome back. We are still with Mr. Richard. Tumekuja Mombasa just to gather wisdom. So tell us about that teacher that you hated the most or you liked the most, or that teacher who gave you the best advice yenye umetumia until to this point in your life.
Yeah, we had the deputy principal who was also director of studies, called Mr. Moya. He's the one who said the best thing in life is pursuit of education. Don't rush for money. Money will come automatically. So if you can get good education, you'll be a successful person. Money will come automatically. What he was encouraging us is to pursue education to the highest point.
But that time, education was the most important thing. But today, a class 5 dropout is the one advising people on which courses to choose to go to university.
That has brought a lot of problems in society now.
Yeah.
Things like corruption is coming because of that.
Yeah.
We are not valuing hard work and merit. We are valuing shortcuts.
Yes.
Get money.
Okay. So earlier on, we talked about now you've joined as a supplies officer. That was just excitement because of the word officer. Now, I want you to tell us about how was it like your first job. Now you've reported to work, you're a supplies officer.
I think I found it exciting also because of the fact that we were taking over the work which previously was being done by non-professionals in this area. So we commanded a lot of respect and attracted a lot of requests for advice, professional advice. And very many forums were created where we could exchange opinions and give suggestions. So you feel proud to be in an area where your professional acumen is recognized and sought. That's what I discovered, that I'm joining an area which is new, and therefore my expertise is highly valued.
You mean there was no something like tensions you have come to take other people's jobs?
Those are normal in an organization, but with time, they fizzle out.
Yeah. After that, you've grown all through. Tell us about the journey, your career journey up to where we are today.
Yeah, from 73 when I joined as supplies officer, then in 1982, the government introduced training programs in this area, supplies management, for the employees in the government. What had happened is that they had introduced a scheme of service, creating positions of progression. And for somebody to progress, they needed acquisition of qualifications. So they introduced training programs in government training institutes for supplies. So I was posted in Mombasa Government Training Institute to introduce or start training program in this area for supplies officers in the civil service. So I trained there for 2 years. Then in 1984, Kenya Polytechnic Nairobi also introduced training for students pursuing CIPS, Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supplies. So I got appointment there as a lecturer in purchasing and supplies. left GTI for that time. That area, Polytechnic, is where I taught various students who are working but doing.
Who are the most successful that you can remember?
One of them is
By the way, Pamela still is my boss. Yes.
She still remembers me very well because of going through Polytechnic.
Apart from Pamela?
There were others who are occupying very important positions in the government.
Okay.
Some are now also have joined academia, teaching in this area. Some are also pursuing successful business ventures.
Okay, yeah.
And so very many success stories.
Okay.
People have passed through my teaching.
Yes.
Now from Polytechnic, 1987, I came back to Government Training Institute as senior lecturer now in area of supply and related management areas. Where I worked in between. I participated in various professional activities in this area. For example, development of curriculum for various professional institutions, Kenya National Examinations Council, where I also became a senior examiner. And we were the people who revived Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, a local professional body in this area, in 2000. And I served as vice chairman of that organization for a number of years. GTI, I worked, as I said before, in between there. I went to pursue further studies in UK while I was working there, postgraduates and masters in supplies. I also rose there to the ranks of first as head of department management, deputy director, and I left when I was director in charge of that place. 2006 is when I retired.
You know, earlier when we were talking, the first time, you know, when you began as a procurement officer, you are just a handful of people. Then along the way, other people joined you. And then so someone will argue that probably the reason as to why you're also still practicing procurement, it's because of the loophole, you know. I'm not saying you are rich, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, what you are saying is true. In fact, some of these classes I teach in these institutions, when I ask people who are here, who are in this supplies profession, very few want to identify themselves with that. Because they know once they identify themselves in this area, they are automatically, conclusion is they are thieves. So that name has been associated with this area, which we try to discourage. And in our training program, myself particularly, what I normally say, don't go to this area because of those benefits. Come to the area because you want to uplift the profession, professional integrity. And what I want to say is that the profession itself has very many regulations and rules, laws, which try to discourage those malpractices.
I know that's a whole topic that we need to talk about, but I'm just thinking of all those rules and regulations. Are they effective?
The problem is implementation side of it. With them, the way they are written and framed, they can be very effective if implemented. They tell you what you should do when you are buying something, the criteria of selecting suppliers, and the fact that you should never pay something beyond the market price. All those are there, but the problem is circumventing them. People don't follow them, and that's now a matter of attitude, personal behavior, which sometimes is difficult to change. Changing an attitude is very difficult in a human being.
There's been an argument that the main reason as to why you will find procurement officer buying some stuffs at a higher cost, they will say it's because of the procurement laws that state, you know, you pick the lowest. So even if the person has quoted a biro pen at 300 shillings and is the lowest, you're going to pick it.
the regulations clearly say that even if the lowest is above the market price, cancel that transaction and start afresh.
Okay.
Prior to evaluating these quotations and tenders, there's a stage called market survey, which should be done by procurement professionals to establish knowledge of the market, supply market. Should be thoroughly informed about supply market in terms of current prices, availability, technology, and many factors. So that by the time those quotations and tenders come, you are well informed, and you can say this one is not the market price.
Do they do that research?
That's the problem. Sometimes they don't do it. And even if they do, they know, but because of personal interest, in fact, I'm not afraid to say it is sometimes us in supply profession who advise these people on what to put.
Including the specific specifications that meet a certain product.
Which is contrary to the professional norm.
Yeah.
You tell them, quote this, so that we serve our own interests. And that has done a lot of, brought a lot of bad image in the profession, by the way.
I want us to talk about direct sourcing. Some procurement officers, they use it as a loophole to enrich themselves.
It is true, but we don't blame the method itself. The method is there to apply in specific situations which are warranted. For example, when there is only one supply in the market, there is urgency due to unforeseen factors. Sometimes there is need to buy something from the previous supplier because of compatibility and from government to government. So if you apply those situations strictly, it is warranted. But again, we can create them artificially. For example, monopoly supplier, it is very easy for a procurement officer to create a monopoly supplier through specification. You can specify something in a way that only one supplier can buy it. And also urgency, you can, there's negligence. You can zubaa until the last minute. Then you create an emergency, which should not have been there.
So we are going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to ask you, by the way, if I pray, can I get a tender? Welcome back, Mr. Richard. Nikiomba leo, ndapewa tender.
Wapi? Siomba wapi?
See, we had some people pray and they're given tenders. And I walk to your office, you give me a, sign this, I've awarded you this tender.
It is very difficult for that to happen if you follow the professional requirements. Because before award, there are so many activities which should take place. First of all, you must get the tender documents with those terms and conditions. You must forward them. They should be evaluated against some criteria which should have been predetermined before. Then subjected to professional opinion before it is awarded by the head of the organization. So it is difficult to go walk in an office and come up with a contract.
So when people say that I prayed, I just walked into a certain office, I was given a tender, is it practical?
It's not practical, professionally speaking. It may be practical based on other criteria, but not professional criteria. It's not possible because the tendering process cannot be accomplished within a day.
Talking about the tendering process, our viewers could be asking themselves, what's the process like from which end to which end? Before one says that I followed the due law in terms of, I got this tender because I followed certain procedures. These are the right procedures that I got.
It's an elaborate procedure starting with the preparation of requirements. The specifications should be prepared in details with illustrations if possible. Then terms and conditions also attached. That package is called tender documents now. Then after that, if it is open tender, you put in the advert in the newspaper, inviting people who are interested to come and pick them, which can take, say, 2 weeks, for example. Then they come and pick those tender documents from you, either by paying or if it is through electronic devices, they just download. Then they go and prepare them, and then submit them after some time, maybe a week or two. and put in the tender box, which should be locked until a stipulated opening day, which must be known to the suppliers. And then a tender opening committee will be established to open the tenders in the presence of those people who submitted them. From there, they'll be taken for evaluation by the evaluation committee as constituted for that purpose. These people will evaluate in two dimensions. One is called technical evaluation, where they look at the technical suitability or capacity of the supplier in terms of quality and others.
Yes.
Those who pass that stage, then you go to financial evaluation now. If somebody fails at that technical stage, you return the financial one. After that evaluation, then it will go to professional procurement person or professional advice, whether the whole process has been complied with based on the regulations. Then from there, they'll go to accounting office or the head of the organization, who will now make the award decision. So it can't be 1 or 2 days. It has to be a number of days.
So I thought, I know what I want to, something that I want to say, it's not funny, but it's funny. We have seen some people, what they do is they write their proposal in soft copy. You send it to a procurement officer. You send him M-Pesa of 50,000, and he does all the monkey work for you.
That's what I was saying. Those things happen, but they should not happen. I can't say they don't happen, because they can happen, but they are not supposed to happen professionally speaking. In fact, that is a very big case of fraud and malpractice, which can warrant that person not only to be disciplined or dismissed, but can also be professionally debarred from taking part in the professional activities. And UK, I learned in UK, if you do those things, 3 things will happen. You are dismissed, then you are taken to court, and the money you are given is repossessed, and then your name is published in the newspaper saying nobody should employ this person in this area.
But in Kenya, we shall reward you with a political seat.
Correct. You are a success. In Kenya, you are a success person.
Yeah. So what does that, you as a profession, when you look at such like things, what does that speak to us of our Kenyan society?
What I've been, the problem it is societal problem, as I mentioned earlier, it's a societal problem. You see, individual behavior depends on societal culture, because we behave in order to conform to the culture, the way of life, and the way of life is reflected in the value system. Currently, what we value is possession of wealth. You are a success if you have wealth. So the culture is pursuit of wealth by whatever means, so that you can get valued in society. So that is why individually now, if you get this kind of opportunity, you want to get wealth so that you conform, so that you are valued. I tell you now, if you are working in a large parastatal, and after the end of your working life, you go home empty-handed, people will say you are a failure because of that kind. You are not conforming. So to change, that's why it is difficult to change this individual behavior of corruption or malpractice in this area until we change the other 2 variables, societal culture and the value system in society. Otherwise, it will still remain.
But some people are saying, the Public Procurement Act did not address everything. So probably they identify the gaps in the Act. They use it to their advantage.
What I can tell you, I've read that Act. In fact, even before the current Act, there are 2 pieces of legislation which came through World Bank, and I participated in developing them. Legal Notice number 51 of the year 2001, then the Public Procurement and Disposals Act 2005. I participated in developing them. And in our current one, what I can assure you, the regulations are well framed, self-contained, and addresses all these issues well in those regulations. The problem is implementation. If you read the Act even now and the regulations which came out last year, they have addressed all these areas. But the problem is implementation. Personally, I can't blame the regulations of the law in the public procurement. It is the way of implementing them and also failure to pursue those who misapply them.
Because we have seen those people, they have been taken to court, and then the next thing you hear, there is no evidence to charge them. So it means the Act, at some point, it misses certain things that, they need to be patched so that this case against these people can go through.
Those regulations have a section called offenses and penalties, which says if you do this, you should be liable to this, and this. It is there. It's called offenses. So it is not that they are not there. They are there. People can be jailed. You can be debarred. Suppliers can be debarred. The regulation says those suppliers who give inducements can be debarred so that they don't get any tender or contracts with the government.
Okay.
But how many have we done? They do those and they get the tender. So it is implementation. The regulations are clear in those areas. Supplier who gives 10% is not supposed to be retained as a supplier in the government. It is written there. And equally, the person who gets it is supposed also to be subjected to some legal action.
I know there is someone who will say if you 10%, you should not be accepted. So you need to give 20% so that you can be accepted. When we come back after this short break, we are going also to talk about the 10%, 20%. And after all, we have those actually at the end of the day, they take the whole percentage, 100%. Gone. And welcome back. So I want us to talk about 10%. So as a supply chain professionals, you decided that you're going to create 10%, not even 20%.
It's not just supplies professionals who created this, by the way. If you look at the entire supply chain, there are some people who are involved in that chain who are also not supplies professionals. So it's difficult actually to pinpoint supplies people as the originators of this. Could have originated from people who are not in the profession, but all the same, it has become a norm in the profession. But as I've said, it is not only supplies professionals who are associated with it. Politicians, non-supplies, administrators, all these are also in the profession.
I'm worried. I hope next time we won't be sitting here talking about 30%. We need to reduce that 10% to efficiency.
So I had some in one class, some participants were telling me, people now, they want to talk about 20. That is cost of living has
increased. So 20%.
Maybe they were joking.
For those people who pray and get tenders, kindly put us in prayers. I want us to talk about your teaching life. What motivated you to teaching? And specifically supply chain.
Okay. First of all, even in school, I wanted to be associated with academic life, because academic life is self-fulfilling and motivating. It is, you see the results after your work. Your students doing well, passing. That's it's a motivating factor. Now, when I joined this area, supply chain, first of all, I was very much discouraged by integrity issues arising out in this profession, being associated with malpractices. Because I remember those days, even if I bought a new shirt out of my monthly salary, people start talking about this
10%.
And there are so many queries from auditors, all this. So I saw the best thing is to divert from practice, go to teaching. Then also the need to develop people in this profession, being a new profession. And I liked it. It because if you see you are imparting skills on student people, then you get self-fulfillment.
Okay. From teaching supply chain to Kenyan students, what have you learned about supply chain?
First of all, it is an area which is attracting a lot of attention and interest. And this is evidence from high enrollment I'm seeing in this area, like in these universities and colleges. I have been teaching also degree program, graduate programs in this area, like University of Taita Taveta. And you find the supplies class has higher enrollment than other classes. That means people are becoming interested.
Not because of 10%, I hope.
I don't know whether they are aware of that from school, whether they are aware of that, I don't know. But to me, I think it was because of interest in this profession, being a new profession.
Okay.
And also I've learned that there are many people who now value qualifications in this area. Because from graduate level, I see them going for higher studies and also coming back to teach, which means they are interested.
Okay.
That growing interest is what I've noticed.
Looking back from your teaching career, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement or contribution to supply chain?
Products from my teaching or training have done very well in various fields. Right now, this morning I was teaching here. There's a student I taught in 2004, GTI. Now he's heading supply chain in his organization, and he's still remembering my contribution to that. A number of them also have become successful academicians, PhDs in this area. But also I've contributed in very many ways apart from teaching. I've written contributed various articles in journals in this area. Like when I was in Northern Ireland, together with my course lecturer, I wrote some article in European Journal of Purchasing and Supplies, and these are local journals here. And also participating in professional activities in various areas.
As a professional, as a teacher, what is the future of supply chain like?
I think it is becoming, first of all, the recognition is going to increase. It's attracting recognition. When we went at this field, very few people knew about supplies, and the recognition was very low. In fact, what I used to see is that if somebody made a mistake in one of these traditional areas like human resource, as a punishment, instead of dismissing, he was taken to work in supplies in the storehouse, which was considered as a low area.
Yeah.
But now it is being recognized, and the fact that it is helping those organizations where it is applied professionally, the results are tangible in terms of cost savings and improvement in organizations' operations through quality materials and so on. So it is, if this area professionals can stick to their integrity and ethical requirements, the future is very bright, by the way. Many organizations are going to rely on it as a basis for commercial success or organizational effectiveness.
What will be your advice to supply chain students?
Two things. One is that when they graduate and get employed, stick to the professional norms. Be distinguished from non-professionals, so that you can be seen as somebody different. Uphold the image of the profession. Secondly, pursue further studies in this area. We want qualified people to teach in universities at doctorate level,
Okay.
and curriculum to be developed accordingly. And it is these students who can do that through their professional growth.
Yeah. You're among the first supply chain officers.
Correct.
Looking back and where we are today, re-evaluating the whole system, what do you think needs to be done in supply chain? Or what's the missing link?
The only thing I'll emphasize again is professionalism. If we can be we can uphold professional integrity, then we are going to attract a lot of support and recognition. To the extent that we will be different from non-professionals, that will define our success in this profession. But so long as we are also associated with people who are non-professionals, and we engage in those unprofessional activities, then the future may not be bright. We want a situation where we distinguish ourselves from non-professionals by being ethical. And I want to emphasize one thing which I've been discussing with my students. It's better for you to be dismissed or sacked because of following the right procedure instead of protecting your job by doing unethical things.
Okay. Now that you're retired from the public service, what can be, or how can people engage you or people like you in the advancing of supply chain?
At various levels. For example, what I'm doing now, still continue to offer lectures in various institutions like Jomo Kenyatta University, these other universities like Mount Kenya, Taita Taveta, and that is training. Also in consultancy work, contribute to various consultancy assignments in organizations, and also facilitation in seminars, workshops, through other professional bodies like the one I was just doing this morning here. It's a professional body which has some people to be trained in supply chain. And also through publications. I still want to continue to publish in this area, to disseminate information in this area for upcoming students to learn from. So it's a wide area which can still engage in.
Any last word that you have, word of advice or anything you feel like we've left out?
It's just to, one thing I'll continue to emphasize is professionalism in this area. Let us not join supplies or supply chain as a way of enriching ourselves. If we want to get money, let us do business. Okay. You can open a business for yourself, then you do business, you make money. But join supplies because you want to uphold the image of the profession, develop it, and make it a success. Okay. That's the advice I want to give those people who are in this profession and those who contemplate joining it. Join it, be in it, for purposes of upholding integrity. Okay. Then we shall be recognized and respected.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Richard, for your time. We know it was a short notice and you came, and thank you for the wisdom.
Most welcome.
Thank you very much. Special thanks to Royal Court Hotel Mombasa for giving us this venue. So when you're in town, kindly make sure that you come to Royal Court Hotel Mombasa. And from Shadrach and I, we say thank you until next time.